Right, and well, don't look now, but it's that time again. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday, which is something of a tradition on a lot of YouTube cooking channels, including mine, to do a cast iron video on Wednesday. It's not required for them to do a live video. In fact, most of them don't, and they're probably smarter than I am, in fact. But nonetheless, I've actually been doing this for like the last couple of years now, somehow. And basically, it's just that. We do YouTube Live every Wednesday where we play with cast iron, such as this enameled cast iron Dutch oven that I have right here, for example. And it's become quite popular actually, and I'm very flattered to say hi once again to all of the folks who show up here right each week. I mean, I recognize a lot of names here, so hello again to all our usual folks like Rick Stumbaugh and Honey Badger and William Hurt and Huggy Bear 516 Cast Iron Fanatic, Cast Iron Fanatic, that is. Val's Black Cat's Rules. If I do sweet rolls, they go in the number 8. Bread loaf in the Dutch oven. That sounds like a good plan. And yeah, as I mentioned already, tonight is, it is indeed chilly night because it is something of a chilly night for a lot of folks. I understand that they're already getting dumped on with the snow in some parts of the country. We had our first snowfall of the season last night here in mid-state New York. And, we had it pretty easy in that we had maybe about an inch or so of what was essentially slush, most of which melted today, although I understand we're going to be getting maybe another coating or so tonight. So, I mean, that's really not so bad, and not a bad way for it to have the first snowfall in my new home. So I've actually been enjoying that, other than working today, that is. So yeah, like Wyoming Yeti says, snow starting tonight, tomorrow night, -7 Fahrenheit. You can have it. Okay, but we are. But that means this is definitely a good night for chili. Even though tomorrow is 1 week before Thanksgiving, boy, the time is flying. I'll have to say that much. So I've been keeping an eye out for the annual Walmart fruitcake sighting, which usually happens about this year. Haven't seen it yet, but we can always see what happens this weekend. So. And Val's Black Cat's Rules going to Handsome's house, which I presume would probably mean like your son or something like that. So time to put the lawnmower away and get the snow shovel out. Yes, and I did that exactly this morning. So, okay, and yeah, the Dutch oven here was in fact a birthday present. Is it 2 years ago? Boy, I think the time must be flying all right. Because yeah, this in fact is a large enamel. In fact, let's see if we can move over and get a closer look now, so that we can start actually playing with some cast iron here. This is in fact a large enameled 7-quart Dutch oven, which, as I said, was a birthday present a couple of years ago, and I like the additional size. It's bigger than your typical 5-quart Dutch oven. It's done in the style of the famous large double Dutch oven, in that it has a lid, and the lid is enameled as well, that fits on the top here, which can be doubled as a pan in itself. In this case, it's actually a grill pan, an enameled grill pan. And I have to say, I have not really used it as a grill pan yet. However, it makes a very good Dutch oven, especially for cooking, especially since it's an enameled Dutch oven. It's good for cooking a lot of dishes that are, really meant for enamel. That would be dishes with a lot of tomatoes, which we'll be having tonight, and a lot of vinegar. I might actually throw some vinegar into the pot now that I'm thinking of it. Boy, that might not be a bad plan, I think. This is kind of a fast and loose chili anyway, so we can, I'm curious as anybody to see how it turns out. But regardless, this thing has been heating up. The residue on the bottom of the oven, by the way, is because I've been using this Dutch oven already for the past couple of hours or so, in that I was soaking kidney beans since this morning. And about an hour and a half ago, I put them in this pot here and started simmering them for about an hour or so, because my understanding is that with kidney beans in particular, Apparently, there is actually a toxin in the kidney beans that does need to be boiled out before they can be used. So that's what I did. I went and boiled them. And well, the result I think has turned out pretty well. They're still in the colander that I used to drain them, and they're definitely softened too. So I'm looking forward to using them. And I guess I better say it right now. Yes, this chili does have beans. Now I realize that this is one of those holy wars that a lot of people talk about. Oh, in fact, while we're waiting here, let's start with the first ingredient, which of course would be a whole bunch of onions. There we go, and that way I can talk and cook at the same time. But yes, I am very much a fan of beans and chili. I love chili without beans, but I love chili with beans. And my reasons are actually practical. Besides the fact that beans taste good, I mean, who doesn't like kidney beans? It's also economical because, it makes more chili. You've got more stuff in the chili, so that means you get more chili and you can feed more people with it that way. So I mean, if you want to do an exclusive chili without beans, you can certainly do so. But I'm not really a fan of a lot of these foodie battles that have been going on since the dawn of time, such as sugar in cornbread, yes or no? I'm afraid I'm a wimp and I have to say both sides. I mean, I was eating sweet cornbread with sugar and honey my entire life until really I learned how to cook and actually started making savory cornbread, which I also like. And likewise, so it is with chili. So I don't have a problem making chili with beans, that is. I'm although this is still going to be something of a basic chili. I'm not going to put any really unusual or fancy ingredients here. So hopefully we can rest assured with that. So hello, Clico and Papa Dan. Like he says, glad you made it, Papa Dan. And I just saw someone say he's made chicken chili, and that was Corey Clark. Yes, exactly. Hello as well, Papa Dan. Typing slow because of eyes. Well, I hope they've been. I hope your eyes are doing better, Papa Dan. Um, but yeah, beans, the musical fruit. There is that, of course. Yeah, putting beans in this chili does mean that it is going to have that wonderful after effect that everybody knows all too well. So, but that's how it goes because, well, like I said, I like beans. That's why I don't have a problem with it. Besides, I've said many times before that my mantra is to try as many new things as possible, and so I am not. I'd like to think I'm never going to be the type who will stand hard and firm and say that no, you cannot do this while cooking. Likewise, I enjoy Chicago deep dish pizza, for instance, and yes, it is pizza. I enjoy pineapple pizza, and yes, it is pizza. You get the idea. So, as far as the argument over whether beans have chili, other way around, whether chili has beans or not, the buck stops here. Answer is yes to both sides. Yes, chili can have beans, and yes, it cannot have beans. It's what you want to make. And getting that aside, again, we've just got the first step here, sweating ourselves out some, excuse me, sweating ourselves out some onions, which of course will be the beginning here of our chili. The recipe I use, and I'm actually kind of regretting it now, called for a lot of garlic powder to be mixed in with the spices, and I did so. But because of that, I can't add fresh garlic because you can't have too. No, you can have too much garlic, unfortunately. Right at this moment, I'm kind of regretting that, and I'm gonna have to make a note about this recipe. Nonetheless, there's really nothing to it, and it's not going to be much longer until these onions start to shrink and they reach the point where we will add the star of the show. Not the beans, of course. That would be the ground beef. And hello, says Val's Black Cat's rule of hot dog chili is a Coney Island. Oh yes, chili dogs. Being from Massachusetts, we're actually quite familiar with those, although we usually have it on our franks rather than on our hot dogs. Likewise, we have our franks and beans. Will the recipe stay in your enamel Dutch oven? It's quite possible that it might do that, yes. In fact, there's already a residue right now from where I cooked those kidney beans. So this Dutch oven may very well be stained, and I'm going to have to look into some cleaning methods for it. I did mention that we would be talking about enamel cast iron tonight because, we've got one in use, and I'm more than happy for folks to comment about your enameled cast iron, whether you have it a Dutch oven or a skillet or anything else, and as well as about your methods for cleaning enameled cast iron. I've done so a few times. I've had some success, and in other instances, not the greatest success. My best success with actually cleaning the stains off of a white inside of a Dutch oven has been using bleach. A very, very tiny amount of bleach, like maybe no more than probably like a shot glass or less of bleach. And then after that, you fill the entire Dutch oven with water all the way up to the rim and just let it soak for a couple of hours. That's done a pretty good job of cleaning the stains in my Dutch oven for most of the time. When doing that method, you do have to fill it all the way up to the rim because it will bleach the enamel. And if you don't fill it all the way up to the rim, there will in fact be a ring of not white enamel where the water's edge reached. So that's my suggestion there in regards to using bleach in on an enamel Dutch oven. Volky guy, hello. My best enamel cast iron cleaning method is hot soapy water and a plastic knife. Yes. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing, by the way. Of course, I've got a wooden spatula and a wooden spoon over here. So many videos, even the ones with professional chefs who work regularly with enamel cast iron. They use metal ladles and other utensils in their enameled cast iron, and that makes me grimace because, as you know, yes, it is indeed possible and all too easy to scratch the enamel. So, yeah, one of my few hard and fast rules is no metal utensils with enamel, please. Get yourself even a cheap wooden dollar store spatula or spoon or something like that if you're going to be using an enamel Dutch oven or other cast iron. And at this point, I do believe these onions are good, which means now comes the star of the show. Ground beef. And here's where I hope I didn't make too bad a mistake. The recipes for chili that I've seen all call for very lean ground beef. We're talking like 90% or so. And I did not do that. I didn't even realize it until I got this, which is essentially your cheaper ground beef. This is like your 75% ground beef. So we've got 25% fat in here. That means this is going to leave a lot of fat. Well, I figure I'm going to have to go with it anyway because number one, of course, is the rule that fat equals flavor. And if I have to drain any extra liquid on this, I will do so. Of course, this is going to be chili anyway, and it's going to be a stew. So maybe that may not be so bad. The recipe that I'm using also calls for 3 cups of beef broth, although some of the comments mentioned that that was actually too much beef broth, so I reduced it to 2 cups anyway. Can always get more if need be. So we are just simply browning the ground beef. Celine 77 star 99. I don't use metal either, though silicone was not around 200 years ago. This is true. I do believe enamel was around 200 years ago, but yeah, wooden utensils are definitely the best thing as far as I'm concerned. I don't really like silicone utensils anyway. I don't know. It's not because of a natural thing, but whether I'm using bare cast iron or enamel, I've had more of a preference, I think, for wooden. Maybe because wooden burns rather than melts. That's probably my reasoning why. So I'm impressed of how much you got out of that blue Dutch oven. Oh yeah, the Le Creuset. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I believe I've told my Le Creuset story, but if not, it'll be very brief. That was one of my very first flea market cast iron finds, and still one of the best I ever made, because it was way back in, good grief, 2011? That long ago? But yeah, it was at a local flea market. I came across this huge, and I mean huge, Le Creuset enamel Dutch oven that turned out to be Le Creuset. I looked at it, and on the bottom it was definitely the Le Creuset logo. It was missing the lid, and it was quite stained, and in fact the enamel was kind of worn down. It was not actually chipped, but it was definitely worn down. And the guy was selling it for $6. So yeah, as I said, that was definitely my first real cast iron score, I think, because yeah, as you say, I used the heck out of that Le Creuset Dutch oven for the next several years or so, until I finally did wear it out and the enamel started cracking. And that was when I finally had to, well, let it go and replace it. Is that a large enamel pot? Hello, Louis J, with your amazing cast iron collection yourself. Yes, it is. This is a one of the newer models of the Lodge enameled Dutch oven. It's a 7-quart Dutch oven instead of their standard 5-quart or 6-quart. As you can see, it's shaped more like a Dutch oven and less round than the other than the standard Lodge Dutch oven. And as I showed in the earlier part of this video here, it actually has an enameled cast iron lid. Oh, here it is again. Similar to their double Dutch oven, except the fact that this is a grill pan, an enameled grill pan. But yes, this is indeed, yeah, it's definitely from Lodge, as you can see. There's the logo. So, because Lodge is, well, very good quality cast iron at just about everything. Cast iron, that is. So I better put this over here so it doesn't slide off. There we go. And Lodge enameled cast iron, yes, no, and they say it's not at the quality of Le Creuset. This is true, but as far as cheaper enamel cast iron goes, I will definitely put Lodge in the top tier here, because I actually have had several enamel pieces over the years. There was one I got from TJ Maxx, one in their after Christmas sale once, from some company called Chantal, Chantal. It was very thin enamel cast iron and very attractive. And unfortunately, it didn't last long. The enamel started crazing, I'd say probably in less than a year. Likewise, I also got, I think this is also from TJ Maxx, a more familiar name. And good grief, why am I running blank here? One of those popular brands, I can't believe I've forgotten it. Oh yeah, Cuisinart. How could I forget that? Yeah, I got an enameled Cuisinart Dutch oven. I think it was like only about a 2 to 3 quart enameled one. And that one also only lasted maybe a little more than a year or so before the enamel started crazing, getting those cracks underneath the surface. So regrettably, that did not last very long. Lodge, on the other hand, has much better quality in their enamel cast iron. So if you can at least get a few years worth of use out of Lodge here. Yeah, this stuff has definitely rendered some fat, that's for sure, but it's not drowning in it. So I don't think we're doing too badly here. Maybe the fact that I'm using a gas stove might have something to do with it. But I'd say we're not doing too bad. And I think I will leave it in, especially since the recipe calls for a whole bunch of spices that should probably help to absorb the liquid here. Why enamel the outside? Well, I think, no, 2 reasons. Number one, it's attractive. There is no denying that. An enamel Dutch oven, yes, it is, for the lack of a better word, beautiful. They are very, ooh, watch that. Oh, splash there. They are very attractive, and you better believe the design is meant to appeal to the customers as well as anything else. But the other reason is, again, the you don't have to season an enamel Dutch oven, and that will keep it from rusting. And that's definitely one of the other major reasons why they enamel the entire thing outside and inside, so that it won't rust. And that way as well, you can do things like you can actually soak an enamel cast iron pot in the sink. You can't do that with bare cast iron. No matter. I have Tramontina enamel cast iron. Oh, Tramontina, that is actually a good brand. Yes, I remember that was another one of my early cast iron pots. I was at Christmas tree shops, and I think it was still maybe about only 2011, 2012 or so. So it was some time ago. For at that time, I managed to score a big, like 6 or 7 quart, what's the one, Tramontina Dutch oven. And yeah, that was really good quality stuff too. I got several years worth of use out of that one. So it came with a plastic knob on the top, and I did actually have to replace that knob. But once I did so, as I said, I got a lot of use out of it. Tramontina, I am giving a thumbs up to as far as enamel cast iron goes. And I guess one other thing to say, because it's going to come out sooner or later, and I've said this many times before, the politics about the fact that most of these enamel pots are made in China, including large enamel cast iron. I have said quite a few times before that I'm not specifically where cast iron is concerned. I'm not interested in the politics. Yes, there are other politics as well in regards to China, and a lot of it is fair politics. China is not the best country in the world. You know, you can talk about cheap Chinese knockoffs that self-destruct pretty much the day you get them, but their enameled cast iron in particular, in general, does not seem to be the case. Lodge has a very good quality control standards. As I just mentioned, Lodge enamel cast iron is made in China, and yet it's about some of the best enamel cast iron you can get. Likewise, that Tramontina is also made in China, and I just give that one's a thumbs up as well. So, okay, and as I said, leaving the politics aside, I will gladly endorse or at least recommend those kinds of enamel cast iron. If you have a personal or political vendetta against China and refuse Chinese products, go ahead and do so. I'm not going to force my viewpoints on you. I'm only saying what I think is the truth, namely that, cast iron made in China, including enamel cast iron, is safe for cooking. All right, I've said that enough. So a friend of mine is sensitive to all legumes. What's up, everybody? Hello, Rhode Island Eats. And yeah, Rhode Island. I have a Tramontina 3.6. What was about made in U.S.? Hold on, I said something about made in U.S. there. Let me scroll up a little bit. Was Lodge enamel ever made in U.S.? No, it has not. Lodge does not have an enamelware division at its factory. So no, all of their enameled products are made in China, and for that matter, all enamelware is made outside the United States, with one very recent exception. There are simply no major enameled cast iron manufacturers at all in the United States, and have not been for decades. The one exception that is very I'm getting at the point, by the way, where I can actually go on to the next, which is where we add in two things. Some tomato paste. Just enough. And then from there, next comes the spices, and there are a lot of spices in this, but there's really nothing unusual about this. There's a lot of chili powder, of course, and a lot of cumin, just a little bit of cayenne in there, your usual salt and pepper, and also sugar, so that will help with the tomatoes that are going to be coming into this. So hey, yeah, these spices are definitely helping to absorb all that liquid, and I'm liking that. Gotta make sure that everything is well combined here. Off to a good start already, I would say. Okay, I better reveal the recipe I'm using here. Where did I put my phone? Uh, I'm running blank here. Oh, here it is. Okay, the recipe I'm using is from a website called The Wholesome Dish. And it was very easy to find. I simply went to Google and looked up best chili recipe. And this was one of the first ones that came up, the best chili recipe. I will argue, I mean, I'm not enough to say whether it is the best chili recipe, but it had a lot of good Google reviews. So I gave it a try, and so far I'm liking the results. Which means if you head over to Google, you will see the recipe here, including all the spices that I have just mixed in with this. This is sure not taking long either. This is actually, as you can see, the liquid is pretty much well absorbed already. Honey Badger, I've been on the Burrow furnace. Yes, that's exactly the one I was talking about. You're right, as far as enamel Dutch ovens or enamel cast iron goes. Burrow furnace has actually started their own enamelware process. So they do make made in USA enamel cast iron, which is good. Wonder if they ship Lodge enamel cast iron from China better that Lodge ships products to your house. Oh, that's yeah. I know. Lodge is a world-class company. We have a lot of great things to say about their customer service department and the quality of their cast iron. The delivery process, well, yeah. Fortunately, that's one good reason why Lodge has its world-class customer service department. I mean, if your Lodge cast iron arrives at your doorstep damaged, cracked, broken, or chipped, give Lodge's customer service department a number. They will not hesitate to send you out a free replacement and not ask you to return the original. So it's definitely worth it if you run into that kind of situation. So let me quickly go up here. Oh yeah, like I said, Burrow Furnace. Yes, that's right, Burrow Furnace, and they're here in New York. In fact, they're in the Hudson Valley area. One of these days, maybe during the spring or something, I should really make a road trip out there just to visit their factory, if that's at all possible. Because yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Burrow Furnace was one of the first small independent cast iron manufacturers. I remember seeing was it their Kickstarter campaign? This might have even been before Kickstarter, but it was definitely their crowdfunding campaign when they were first getting started. I donated to that campaign, and as a prize, they sent me a little cast iron bottle opener, which I still have, in fact. So, but since then, Burrow Furnace has been in business for several years. They're good things and bad things. The good things is that, well, they are indeed a made in USA cast iron maker. Their product has had very high marks, and it is a very definitely artistic looking cast iron. What's more, they make it all by hand. They don't have as far as I know, they don't use automated production. So they're doing it the old fashioned way. The disadvantage to that is, well, number one, their output is very, very small and probably always will be, which is why, even though they are producing enamel cast iron, they're never going to compete with, like, say, Lodge or any other enamelware or even Bear cast iron company for that reason. They simply are not able to do the output. The other disadvantage, of course, is the price. Because they do everything by hand and they can only produce a small amount of product, excuse me, my throat's dry. That also means that they have to price their cast iron very high and appeal especially to the luxury cookware market just so that they cannot turn a profit. And I can only hope that they are turning a profit. Still, looks like we are already at this point here. I mean, this is looking very nice already, and this is not taking long, is it? Well, it's probably because I'm cooking it in cast iron, and I'm not joking either. This is not taking long at all here. So that means we get to go to our next step, which is we will throw in some tomato sauce. And mix that in. This is definitely looking like a chili, that's for sure. So things are looking pretty good already. And then from here, like it or not, yeah, that's right. Next in line, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And yeah, I know, I like some internet jokes, but I don't know, I never, yeah, damn it. Okay, why is this thing sticking? Yeah, Worcestershire sauce, that is. Ah, what the hell? Okay, let's see if I can try it this way. I hope I don't have to get pliers or something. Oh, man. I hope not, because my pliers are upstairs. Ugh. All right, I've got to have something here that I can use for pliers. Yeah, I know. You can make all the comments you want. Here comes the chaos. What else is new? Since when has there not been something unexpected in my kitchen? And I'm surprised, too. I love using Worcestershire sauce, but this damn thing is just not opening. Okay. And I'm trying to find the equivalent of a pliers as well, which I could have sworn I had. All right, I'm going to have to come back to that, like it or not. Keep this going because I don't want to burn it. But from here, two more things. One is some extra tomatoes and their juice. The recipe called for diced tomatoes. I found out I did not have diced tomatoes. I did have a can of whole peeled tomatoes, so I hit it with the immersion blender. For only a few seconds, I didn't want to turn it into puree, although it sure seems like it's turned into that way. But nonetheless, we definitely have a chili going here, and I haven't even added the beef broth yet. From the looks of it, I might not even have to. It specifically said to use the tomatoes and their juice, which is why I did not drain that can. Finally, the one that everybody says, no, don't do it. Here come the beans. But there we go. As I said, I like kidney beans. I don't have a problem with kidney beans. So that's one reason why I like beans with chili with beans. The other, as I mentioned, it increases the volume of the chili. Look at this. As I said, this is a 7-quart pot here. This is a heck of a lot of chili. These beans, by the way, I got them dry. I didn't get the beans out of a can, at least. I started soaking the beans this morning, and about 6:15, or an hour and 45 minutes before the live started, I put the beans into the pot with some water and simmered them in this very same Dutch oven here for about an hour and a half. I think I talked about that already, that the beans have a toxin that does need to be boiled out, and so that's why it also helps to soften the beans. Oh yeah, one other thing, and then I'll shut up and look at some more comments. One thing I've discovered recently is that I definitely have hard water in my neighborhood, high alkaline content. And I discovered that when recently, several times now, when I have been using my aluminum Dutch oven, you see it there in the background, to make pasta or rice or the like. And lately, this boiling water in the aluminum Dutch oven has been turning the inside black. And this kind of freaked me out a little bit. And so I went online and started searching to see, why is this Dutch oven turning black? And the reason for it is because, oh, hey, it worked. Okay, I guess I just needed patience. So now we get to do Worcestershire sauce. Let me come back to what I was saying there. In that I'm a huge fan of Worcestershire sauce. For me, there's only one Worcestershire sauce, Lee and Perrins. And I don't know why, but I've found, yeah, I know it's funny, but I prefer to actually pronounce it the proper way, Worcestershire sauce, rather than everybody else making jokes and saying Worcestershire sauce, which, yes, it is funny. But yeah, there's one guy, in fact, on TikTok. He's a cast iron dude. In fact, he regularly calls it "wash your sister sauce." Yeah, but I prefer the actual pronouncement of Worcestershire sauce. Meanwhile, on the other hand, as I mentioned already, I went and did some research and found out the reason for the aluminum turning black is it's from oxidation, almost like an type of aluminum rust, and it's because of high alkaline content in the water, which again is what they call, as I said, this is so. I not even sure I need to add any beef broth to this. I mean, look at this. It's got a nice amount already. If I were to simmer this covered for, I don't know, at least half an hour or so, I better turn the heat down a little bit, though, before I do. But if I were to simmer this for maybe half an hour or so, and then take it off and let it reduce, now I'm not so sure. Maybe I'll throw in a little bit. This is supposed to be 2 cups of beef broth. I think I'll do half of that. I think I'll do 1 cup of beef broth. And with any luck, that should be more than enough. So that, as I said, I will simmer it, and then I will uncover it and reduce it. Yeah, actually, I think that was the right thing. Now that I see it, I think the extra liquid helps. Anyway, like I said, high alkaline content, which is what they call hard water because of that. The other thing, okay, so I found out that, I mean, yeah, it's oxidation, but it can be scrubbed off. You need to use things like Barkeeper's Friend, and I've been doing that. But the other thing about high alkaline water is, as you know, that also can prevent beans from softening, and that's why I mentioned all this. For years, I have been making Boston baked beans, and a recipe that I'm very proud of, and I just about always soak my own beans. I've had a couple of instances where the beans did not soften, and that ticked me off to no end. So that was when I did some more research. Well, this was before, and I think I can cover this pot now, in fact. Anyway, I did research, and I found really the secret to soaking beans, and that is to use a salt water brine. So ever since then, I have actually been brining and soaking my beans in salt water rather than just fresh water, and the results have been fantastic. Let me say a little bit more about that, and then we will get on with some comments. There we go. Because yeah, I know you want to see the cast iron. I don't blame you. Anyway, salt water. Now, it's a long-standing, I shouldn't say rumor, but it's one of those things that everybody knows. They say you don't soak your beans in water because that will prevent it from softening and it will harden the beans. Well, I looked, and there were several websites out there, those usual foodie blogs who do all kinds of experiments like that, and they actually put it to the test. And they found out that, in fact, just the opposite is true. Even when using alkaline or hard water, using a saltwater brine has done a fantastic job in softening the beans. And what's more, here's the other important thing. Doesn't that give the beans an overly salty taste? No. What I do is just that. I use a saltwater brine, and I soak the beans, and that's exactly what I did with these kidney beans right now. In that I used salt water, and then when it was ready, when it was time for me to take the beans out of the brine and boil them in the pot, You do have to drain the water, though. You can't save the bean water. Some people like to cook their beans in the bean water because it's bean broth, and I don't blame them for that. But when you're using salt, you can't do that. It's much too salty. So I drain the beans in a colander and give it a spritz with the with the old faucet hose and wash it off that way. Then put it in the pot and add fresh water to it and just simmer and boil them from there. And they turn out just fine. I have yet to have a pot of Boston baked beans where the beans are not properly softened by using this method. And I'm taking all this time talking about it because I like this method, and I very much want to encourage folks who soften their beans, who soak their own beans. Give it a try. Give a saltwater brine a try, and I think you will like the results as well. Okay, so I think, have I talked enough yet? um Rick Stumbow. I soak my pintos in plain water and they come out perfect. Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying you, I mean, if you've got your good results, I'm not saying you have to change that. Maybe you're luckier than I am in terms of the water in your neighborhood. Maybe you don't have hard water, for instance. I like Mr. Gregory. I like to add chopped zucchini to my chili. And Rick Stumbow, yeah, like I said, I cook my pintos in plain water overnight. Sour cream too. Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, actually, I have some sour cream and cheese. So once this is done, I'll be serving it with that. So no question about that. Stealing that saltwater brine. Well, give it a try. That's the best I can say. So. My other thing about soaking beans is I try to go for a 12-hour soak. Because if it goes for much longer than that, then the beans start to spoil and they smell terrible, and then that's all. But on the other hand, a 12-hour soak has, again, worked just fine for me. So I can only speak from experience here. So, Papa, we're not worried about your chat. Just enjoy. Yes, exactly. So, chili sounds heavy, not light. Well, chili has always been heavy, I think. I mean, I would really have to ask what you say by light chili. I mean, after all, it has the beans and it has a lot of ground beef in it. So, I mean, I realize you could do a vegetarian chili. Maybe that's what you mean by light chili. I've had vegetarian chili and I've liked it too. So, yeah, as I said, I'm a wimp when it comes to these foodie battles. Very few instances I can think of where I'm actually going to take a hardline stance and say the other side is wrong. All right. Fresh chopped onion, cheddar, sour cream, and a big spoon. Well, that's what I'm hoping to do when this is all done here. And since we are at only about 40 minutes into this chat, well, maybe by the time this is over, we may very well have some chili. So that would be nice. Have you put bacon grease in your chili before? All of these sound like great ideas, if you ask me. In fact, maybe I should have put some bacon in the chili. I mean, after all, everything goes better with bacon, as they say. Do you freeze some of the chili or eat it for the whole week? Yeah, I'm definitely going to freeze some of it. So, because I've got friends up in Oneonta who may very well like a pot of this chili. So, I mean, I live by myself. I mean, obviously, I can't eat all of that. So, bacon grease sounds good to start the onions. Yes, it does, in fact, because I just used canola oil when I started. And yeah, that bacon grease definitely sounds like it would have done even better. Still, I'm not too worried about how the chili is going to turn out. My buddy's mom made a chili with steak. Let me scroll up with that a little bit. The Huggy Bear. My buddy's mom made a chili with steak and I believe pork with it. Pork. It was so delicious. Oh yeah. It was a few years ago I made a chili with ground pork and that turned out fantastic too. It was lean too, not much fat. Strong's Adventures. Jiffy cornbread or cornbread that is not sweet. See, that's what I mean. I've had it all three ways. I've had Jiffy cornbread and I like it. I grew up eating sweet cornbread with honey and I've liked it. And again, after I learned how to cook several years ago, that was when I started discovering savory cornbread, and I like it. So I'm afraid, as I said, I'm something of a wimp when it comes to those kind of arguments. Jiffy cornbread, in fact, it was my former roommate who introduced me to probably the world's easiest recipe for cornbread, which is a box of Jiffy cornbread mix and a can of sweet corn. And I'll have to look it up. I think it might even be just that, just those two ingredients. You mix them together, and then from there you just plop it into your hot cast iron pan, and you've got the world's easiest cornbread mix. We used to use Campbell's tomato soup for chili base. It's actually really good. I need to try savory cornbread. Always had honey. Well, yeah, with savory cornbread, two things. One is you need tons and tons of butter on it, and even Southerners will tell you that. The other, of course, is if, like me, you're not used to savory cornbread, you may find the taste a little off-putting. So if you're going to make savory cornbread for the first time, might I suggest you make it as a side to go with something like chili, for instance. So there you go. I mean, I'm sure there are folks who'll say that you've got to have savory cornbread, in fact, as a side dish to making yourself some chili. Hello, Broke Popper, who I guess retracted his message. Okay, well, I hope it was good. Ever tried better than bouillon broths? Not yet, I have to say, and that's one of well, what can I say? There are many things I still have to try. Gene Groove, the southern tier area of New York has the specialty salt potatoes. Very small potatoes cooked in salt water, drained and tossed with butter before serving. Well, there's an idea that definitely that sounds like something I'm gonna have to try. I mean, I love eating local, and if you're saying that's one of the specialties around here, then I'm definitely gonna have to give it a try. For instance, I love speedies. I discovered chicken speedies and even lamb speedies several years ago, and did not look back. Lamb speedies still take a little bit of getting used to, maybe just because I'm not used to lamb. But chicken speedies in particular, I really, really very much enjoy. Mr. Gregory. I'm baking potato wedges tonight. Tell us about your necklace. Well, yeah, the necklace is pretty simple. It's a symbol for that they call the Star of Chaos. And those who know the science fiction of Michael Moorcock will be very familiar with the Star of Chaos. Or those who play Warhammer will also be pretty familiar with the Star of Chaos. So, I have actually been accused of being a Satanist because I wear this. And I can definitely say, no, I am not a Satanist. Nothing to worry about there. I dated a Satanist for several months, and that was an interesting little relationship. Okay. Turner Fowler, I put peanut butter, mustard, honey, and or ketchup. Put in the mustard or ketchup by itself and give it a different taste. Mustard cornbread? Well, I love mustard, so I might very well give that a try. I don't see why not. My personal favorite if you don't have bone broth. I made cornbread last night to have with bean soup. I use cake flour and it comes out light and crispy around the edges. Oh yeah, here's my other thing that I really enjoy doing with cornbread. Masa harina corn flour. Rather than your typical flour, I mean, if we're going to make cornbread, I thought, why not try it with corn flour? And I found that it worked great. I've permanently pretty much included it in my cornbread recipe that I have on my website here. So that's one thing you might want to try. It may not be the same as cake flour, but you might enjoy it. What kind of foods do you like to cook in the cold winter? Well, chili's a good one. Or, as I mentioned enough times about being a New Englander, I love slow cooking a nice pot of Boston baked beans. I've always been a fan of that. Lately, over the past several years, since I've discovered a lot of Southern dishes, I enjoy things like Brunswick stew, for instance. The History Guy did a video on that Val's Black Cats Rule. Never heard of that before. That's interesting. The history guy. I'm guessing this is different from tasting history, which I think I've mentioned about before. Do you cook clam chowder in raw cast iron? Yes, I do. And I just realized how long it's been since I've made clam chowder. Definitely, that is going to have to go on my short list. Because even though I'm born and bred New Englander, I've said many times. I've lived in Massachusetts my entire life until I moved here to New York. Um, but I've never been much of a seafood person. I like seafood. I have no problems with it. I've had several kinds. Um, but it's not my first choice. I mean, lobster is okay. I won't go out of my way for it. I enjoy clam chowder, yes. And yet I really should make clam chowder more often than I do. So, um, what can I say? It's just me. I mean, I really don't have any other excuse for that. So, the history guy, I'm definitely going to have to look him up because I plugged tasting history several times. I even plugged it on my own Facebook page just this morning, in fact, because just yesterday he did this really interesting history of the first Thanksgiving. And he laid it out with a cold, hard truth, about how the Indians really, before the Pilgrims arrived, most of the Indians in the Massachusetts area had died from disease and so on and so forth. Yet he steered away from politics, and I like that. So, I mean, it's not, I mean, a lot of it is not a happy story. I mean, that's just because that's history, and he didn't shy away from that. But as I said, on the other hand, he really doesn't get into politics either. It's not like about, oh, how the United States is a terrible country. We've committed genocide against Native Americans, and whether or not there's truth to that, and yeah, I can definitely agree with some of the arguments in favor of that. He did not really get into that. And thank goodness for that, which is why, again, that's on Tasting History. It's one of their recent videos about the first Thanksgiving. I found it to be very interesting and very educational. I like New England and my hubby like Manhattan. Okay, yeah. And I like myself a good rum and coke too. So, as opposed to the perfect Manhattan, 6 parts gin to 1 part vermouth. You will like the history guy. Well, I'll definitely have to look him up. No question about that. I like oyster stew better than clam chowder. So many things I'd still have to try. No question about that. Oh, if it wasn't so late, I'm actually thinking maybe I should have started making some cornbread. Well, I suppose it's not out of the question. Maybe I might very well go for it. So, because yeah, now you've got me thinking, I should really make myself some cornbread to go with this chili. Yeah, thanks a lot. You're forcing me to make some cornbread. Okay, well then, let me saunter over here and pull out one of my personal favorite cast iron pans. Where's Kitty Crew? Let me see. Kitty Crew right now are relaxing in the other room, actually. Trouble was running around earlier this evening, and right now he and Miss Mowgli seem to be chilling out. But hey, there we are. And tell me, I'm sure this looks familiar. A good old Birmingham Stove and Rage cornbread skillet. And you can tell it's BSR because it says cornbread skillet on the back. And more importantly, that it doesn't have a hole in the center. It has a solid center here and only an indentation in the back. And of course, the good old handle that immediately identifies a BSR pan. I've talked about BSR and this, especially the cornbread skillet, many times here. Namely, that this was the best seller in BSR's history. They actually had a big profit the first couple of years when this came out, and so on and so forth. But right now, rather than talking, I'm going to have to move these things away so that I can open the oven. And that means, let's get down here, and into the oven we go. Now we've got to bring the temperature up to a scorching 450 bake. Because, yeah, I'm going to have to go with savory cornbread to go with this chili here. I'm hearing trouble in the background. I think he's using his scratching post. Here we go, 450. And the nice thing about this gas oven, yes, I'm very much enjoying this oven. Anyway, yes, I'm enjoying this oven, is that it heats up so fast. I like that. With the old electric stove, it may have taken me half an hour or so to get the oven up to 450, but not here. So I'm actually quite happy about that. But since I don't have this thing memorized, now where did I put my phone? Here it is. Since I don't have this memorized, I'm going to have to go on very quickly. Do this so that you can see it. And bring up my website. Let me see, that would be, I can close this out. Bring up my website. Come on. There we go. Look way down here somewhere. Skillet cornbread. Where the heck is skillet cornbread? Irish homemade molasses. Why am I not? Oh, yeah, it's under desserts. That's why. Told you I grew up with sweet cornbread all the time. Here it is, skillet cornbread. And, of course, the nice thing about Southern cornbread is that it has only 6 ingredients. So that means I better get some cornmeal, baking powder, salt, an egg, and buttermilk. Oh, crap, I don't have buttermilk. Okay, well then, time to fake it. That's the first thing I should do. It's time to start moving around and panicking. Let me get more of a view here in the kitchen, in fact, so that you can see everything. The cast iron and me moving around. Oh, by the way, here he is. Hi, Trouble. He's like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Let's do this nice and quick, as best as I can. All right, first thing I need to do is break out a little measuring cup. Where the reef? I'm really losing it. I think my measuring cup, oh yeah, here it is. In fact, gosh, come on. Where the heck? Am I going senile? Let me look one more time for my small measuring cup, which I'm having trouble finding. Okay. Gotta be staring me in the face because it usually is. All right, well, then let's not waste any time. Oh, there it is. It was in the dryer rack. Okay, now to this, let's quickly get ourselves some milk. Ugh. All right, let's do this fast here. Yep. Can we see this? Yes, we can. We got a cup of milk. What are you doing now, Trouble? He's scratching at the fridge. Probably wants something. We got milk, and then from here, get out the vinegar. There we go. Because if I can't have buttermilk, the least I can have is curdled milk. To 1 cup of milk, we add 1 tablespoon of vinegar. There we go. And within 20 minutes or less, this will have curdled, and we will have at least poor man's buttermilk. And that is probably the hardest thing to do. For now, and from here, put this vinegar back because I don't need it now. Dig out the cornmeal. Here we are. It's this container that says cornmeal. How clever. Let me see. That was white cornmeal. Oh, yeah. Baking powder, salt, and egg. Okay, there we go. It's going to be as simple as that. Thank goodness. This was baking powder, salt, and bam. And fortunately, the oven is heating up so fast, I'm hoping I can get this done in time. Eggs. I'm low on eggs, but I know I still have at least a few eggs left. Don't I? Oh, here it is. Okay. Anyway, thank you for your patience, folks. Got some eggs. There we go. An egg, something to rest the egg on so that it doesn't roll off and onto the floor. And finally, the old mixing bowl. All right, so let's move over here, shall we? Mixing bowl. Here it is. This isn't too big. All right. Bam. Okay. 2 cups yellow or white cornmeal. Here we are. I've done the dishes when they're dry, but I had not put them back yet. But still. 2 cups cornmeal. That's 1. 2. So far in the past 12 years since I've been cooking, only once have I seen mealy bugs in my cornmeal. Thank goodness. That's never a fun sight when that happens. Okay, that's the cornmeal. Yeah, I've also got a habit of putting my ingredients back after I use them. One less thing to worry about. And from there, let us go quickly. Come on, screensaver. Okay, mix cornmeal, baking powder, and salt in a medium bowl. And that is a teaspoon. A teaspoon. I would have thought it would have been more, but okay. 1 teaspoon baking powder. Do this as quickly as we can. 1 teaspoon baking powder. Yeah, and the bit about the mealy bugs, that's just a fact of life, quite frankly. It's not an indication of anybody's living situation or anything like that. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I realize a lot of people just eyeball their cornbread and they don't even use measuring for that. So, nonetheless, I'm not that good. Some recipes I am. I can't say I'm quite like that with cornbread, but still. Okay, we've got a little bit more. There we go. Mix cornmeal, baking powder, and salt in a medium bowl. Add egg and buttermilk. Stir until just combined. Remove the salt. Remove the pan from the oven. Okay, at this point, in fact, I think I can even wait until the oven reaches 450, and hopefully that'll only be another couple of minutes or so, which means let's chill and let me check the comments. So thank you again for waiting. Isn't Mexican cornbread a tortilla? Well, I suppose you could call it that. I mean, of course, you press it down anyway. All right, going back here. Stir the chili. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Where did my, here it is, pot holders. Thank you very much. Yeah, let me move this over so you can see it. I'm glad somebody's keeping an eye on this, because I'm not doing the greatest job, am I? Oh yeah, this is probably enough at this point that I can leave it off and start letting it reduce, because there's definitely a lot of liquid in this, as you can see. However, as the gentleman said, stir the chili. There we go. That looks better. Now from here, I will just leave the lid off and we will let it reduce. Especially since I'm using a gas stove. I know. How many times have I said that now? I'm betting that this should probably not take long to reduce. So I'm trying to be careful about that. I can feel that there are bits stuck to the bottom of the pot, but they feel like they are coming off without any difficulty. And if I move it up, I am not seeing any burn bits. So I think we are good here. Thanks to your advice, sir, I do believe we've avoided a layer of burned chili on the bottom. Nonetheless, stir the chili, and thank you very much. Good thing I checked those comments. Okay, it takes forever to cook down, but very tasty. Whenever Dana makes chili, I have to make cornbread. Anyone like cornbread with cream corn? Yeah, as I mentioned, Wyoming Yeti, the world's easiest recipe, one of the world's easiest recipes for cornbread. Hey, I heard that. That's the oven. Cool. Okay, one of the world's easiest recipes for cornbread. 1 box of Jiffy cornbread mix and 1 can of creamed corn. I've really got to look it up, but I think that's all you need. You mix them together and you throw it into a hot cast iron pan like the one I'm about to do. Which means I had better finish with this cornbread here. All right, so mixed cornmeal, and okay, now here's where we add egg and buttermilk and stir until just combined. Okay, well that part's easy enough. Here is my poor man's buttermilk, which is indeed separating right now, so I'd say it's actually curdled. So we get in egg. Here we go. And to that, we throw in our fake buttermilk. Mix it a little bit. And start stirring. Meanwhile, I do hear that chili bubbling too. So now comes the fun part where I move back and forth between stirring that and stirring the chili. Still, the end result is, oh yeah, definitely. There are no burn bits on the bottom of the pot. The stirring here has definitely removed any solid bits from the bottom. So thank you once again for that advice. Now, back to here again. Maybe I should, yeah, okay. Now I'm thinking I probably should not have used a whisk for this. So, somewhere around here we are. Let me quickly clean off this spatula here. Yeah, I think a whisk is probably not the best way to stir this cornbread mix, unfortunately. Instead, that'll go in the sink, and I will use the old spatula here. Still, as you say, it is that easy. It's really just those few ingredients. Though this is actually maybe a little bit too solid. I probably should have stirred that milk in a little bit at a time, because I think I'm going to have to stir in. I mean, take a look at the consistency of this. I'm thinking I'm going to have to stir in a little bit more milk to give this a better consistency. Dig that milk back out as quickly as I can. Also stir the chili. Well, that seems to be becoming a regular occurrence. Yeah, because the chili is definitely bubbling, and yet it's already not as soupy as it was. So things are looking good. Just keep stirring. Meanwhile, from here, add a little, just a dash of milk. And stir it up a little bit more. With any luck, maybe that dash of milk might be all that was needed. Well, let's see if I can do this without dropping it. Let's see if we can get this consistency here. This is already looking like a much better cornbread batter here. All I had to do was throw in that extra little bit of milk, I think. Yeah, because it is very thick. There's no denying that. However, there's one other thing I need. I do not have bacon grease on me at the moment, so I'm going to have to go with my favorite oil for cornbread, and that would be corn oil. Because why not? Also, because corn oil has a nice high smoke point. Good old Mazola corn oil here. All these product plugs, boy, maybe they should pay me for this. But still, also stirring the chili a little bit more. Now comes the fun part. Oh yeah, the other thing. This is. I should put this milk back too. Always one more thing, isn't it? That's all right. It's a chilly night anyway, so this milk is not going to be spoiled just from the short amount of time that it's been out. Now, finally, especially since I've waited a little bit. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Now, get out this trivet here. And I've got to get a better oven mitt. Hot, 450-degree cast iron. About to come out of the oven. Make sure I haven't missed any comments on top of everything else. Oh, yeah. Ooh, hot. Yes, indeed. Oh, yeah, that's definitely hot. And the fun part is I'm not done with this yet, because I'm going to have to put this back in the oven for a minute or so. A little bit there. That's probably more than enough, in fact. All right. Good thing I've got my basting brush right here. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit everywhere. Ah, boy. You know, these weird memories from my childhood. There was this cartoon from the 1960s, Pixie and Dixie, two mice from Hanna-Barbera. They were a pale imitation of Tom and Jerry, and there was this bit where he's here, he's there, he's everywhere, so beware. Anyway, I've got this all done. Pop this back in the oven for about another minute. Here's a better oven pot holder. So, get this back in for about another minute. And then it'll be time to bake some cornbread. Also, I'd better stir this chili once again. Next time, I'm going to have to show you how the chili has reduced, the liquid has reduced. Because, yeah, definitely making progress here. This is going to be quite a night, all right. Chili and cornbread. Okay. Now, well, we've got about a minute or so. Yeah, I think that so far I'm thinking the cornbread was a good idea. Okay, Mr. Gregory, the family goes through about 15 pounds a year of honey. Huh. Hello, Shadow Walker XM. Last minute meeting. I know how that is all too well. So I use Pam spray for my cornbread pan. Now I'll have to remember to get some of that. Had the two to make Johnny cake. You drizzle honey on the cornbread. Great granny related to John S. Bottles are getting thinner. Shrinkflation. I saw an enamel cast iron Dutch oven at Aldi today. I think it was about $40. Yeah, the Aldi brand cast iron is good quality stuff. I have heard a fair number of recommendations from people who have gotten cast iron at Aldi, and it's not expensive. It's definitely doing it. But hey, take a look at this chili here. I mean, you can see all the steam, so definitely the liquid is reducing here. Boy, the steam is giving off a nice twirling thing too. So what's more, it does not look like soup right now. So this chili is definitely moving in the right direction. This is just your basic chili. There are no unusual ingredients in this. I just wanted to go for something simple tonight. so far, I'd say we're off to a pretty decent start here, as far as I'm concerned. Because, yeah, look at the consistency of this. Boy, look at all the steam that's coming off. Boy, it's all this. I'm guessing that means that the liquid is definitely reducing here. It's like I can barely see the chili because of all the steam. Fortunately, it's steam, not smoke. So I'm still confident that the smoke detector will not go off. Especially since, thanks to you, I'm stirring it regularly. And yeah, we've definitely got some chili consistency here, I would say. Probably, in fact, by the time the cornbread is ready, so will the chili be ready. So we're off to a good start here. And this has not been too difficult either. And I think we are about ready by now for the, whatever. For the cornbread. Let me put the cap on this. Let's move over here, because now the fun begins. And that is, of course, the one thing about cornbread that everybody loves, and that's the sizzle. If it doesn't sizzle, you're not doing it right. There we are. Okay, so stir this one more time. And here we go. Open the oven. Carefully get this thing out, because I'm really not in the mood to burn myself. And number one. There's sizzle number one. Oh, great. Just, okay, I'll mix this in. And now comes sizzle number two. There we go. So yeah, we definitely have some southern cast iron some southern style cornbread in the making here. Boy, look at me spilling this all over the place. Because not only is it savory cornbread, you can hear that sizzle. At least I hope you can hear that sizzle. Let me try leaning over a little bit so you can hear that. It's also nice and convenient that the amount of ingredients in that batch of cornbread happens to fit almost perfectly in this 6-wedge cornbread pan. It's almost as if it was designed that way. Right, let's spread this out a little bit more. This will go over here. This will go, and this will go over here. There we go. Do believe we are about ready. And the nice thing is, this is only going to be in the oven for like about 20 minutes or so. So this is not going to take long at all. Let me try scraping this off quickly. And then it's back into the oven. Let's turn around, get the view of the oven here, so that if I make a big mistake and spill all over the place, you'll watch it happen. Live video is so much fun, isn't it, folks? In fact, let's try to do this right. Pot holder, cornbread, and success. More success when it comes out of the oven, but we got it. Finally, stir the chili. Oh, you hear that? It's making that slurping sound, which I think means this chili is probably close to getting done. It's definitely reduced, though. Not just because of my stirring, but you can see this rim here. It does look like the liquid has reduced. So, not bad. I do believe we've got ourselves some chili, even though there's still so much steam that you can barely see it. But you can smell it, or I can smell it, that's for sure. All right. Comment time. Thank you again for your patience here, folks. I saw an enameled Dutch oven at Aldi today. Yeah, like I said, Aldi. Let me get a better view. I think you would rather see the cast iron in my gut. There we are. Um, yeah, bottles are getting thinner. Let's start here. Okay. Black Cat rules. Got to shop for Blizzard and Thanksgiving. 4 feet of snow. Oh, fun! Yeah, be sure to dig yourself out, or at least have enough provisions so that you can get through it. Never made cornbread without flour. That looks like it would be good. Well, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned already enough times, being a born and bred New Englander, I had to learn how to make Southern cornbread. And as was pointed out, there are about 1,000 ways to make cornbread, and they're probably all correct. But the one that I chose here is your very basic Southern cornbread, which, as you saw, only has a few ingredients. No, it doesn't use flour. That's one of those things that hardcore Southerners will say, no, no sugar, no flour. It's cornbread, so you've got to have cornmeal in it. But that's one reason why I also have made cornbread with masa harina corn flour. And as I said, I have liked the results too. So, the cheese sounds good. Actually enjoy. Well, thank you very much, Wham and Yeti. At least this time, so far, hopefully it'll stay this way. This live video, I think, has been more successful than last week when I tried making a Cajun-style roux for turkey gravy. You notice how I released my cast iron turkey video the other day? There was no gravy in it. So let's look at the comments here. I bake brownies in my wedge pan also. So crusty and good, says Jerry 1952. And again, Val's Black Cats rules. We're due to get 4 feet by Sunday night. Ooh, what state are you in, Val's Black Cats? I'm not asking you to reveal your city or anything like that, but man, you sound like you're really going to get clobbered there. Are you near a lake, perhaps? Is this lake effect snow? Shadow Walker XM, I like to add chunks of cheese like pepper jack to the mix. That's not a bad plan. It's a little late now. I wish I'd seen that before putting that in the oven. I could have quickly thrown some cheese into that mix. I'm my greatest enemy, hot oil. Yeah, I'm bundled up. I'm a freeze, baby. Ooh, I hope you're doing okay, Granny Graham. Val, and 30 and snowing here in the low 40s here in northern Texas. Yeah, oh yeah, that's true. That's where they pretty much consider it a snow emergency. And 42 degrees in New York City. We haven't had a hard frost yet, but I did harvest most of my herb garden a few days ago. Here in the Binghamton area, we're a couple of hours west of New York City, we have had some frost. So I don't know if you'd call it a hard frost, because at least up until the last couple of days, it's been getting down now to as cold as the 20s and 30s at night, and yet until recently, it's still gotten up to the 50s and 60s during the day. However, this latest batch of weather seems to have settled in for good, in that we're going to stay in the 30s, maybe hit 40 for the next few days or so. We're going to be having some light snow on and off for the next few days. Not 4 feet of snow, so I realize I'm lucky like that. But still, it's going to be light snow and cold. And well, it is November, so winter is definitely arriving. I have always had a personal winter clock that I follow, which starts on November 1st and ends on March 31st. And that covers about 95% of all the snow, except for almost always there's at least one light flurry in April as well. Sometimes even in May. With that kind of winter clock, I can say that when Martin Luther King Day comes in the middle of January, then the winter is half over. So, well, time is passing. As soon as the knee heals, I'm doing chili and cornbread. That sounds like a plan. Yeti. Chaos detector may be sensitive to steam, too. Well, there is that. Okay, did you add Lee and parents? Yes, I did get the cap off of that. If you look at the earlier part of this video, I did finally get the cap off of that Worcestershire sauce, and I did in fact mix it in. So as I said, this chili is doing pretty good. So put the cornbread mix on top of the chili and bake it. Why didn't I see this before? That sounds fantastic. Okay, we have a few inches of wet snow here, but it will get cold tonight, and that will make it nasty. Oh yeah, that's when it's going to turn to the hard as rock ice. So if you haven't shoveled it off, you'd better do it tonight before it freezes. That's about the best advice I can give. Still love the winter. So far, since I'm now pretty much settled down here, I am going to be doing a lot less driving, and that includes winter driving. Yeah, that was one of the things I really hated about New England winter. Just about every time we had a snowstorm, I had to be out driving in it for some reason or another. And boy, I never liked winter driving, never will. I think I told the story about how I actually totaled my car in a snowstorm on December 31st, 1999? No. 2009. That's it. We're just going into 2010. So that was a time I would not forget. I'll go into more detail on that story a little later. Maybe, say, on New Year's Eve. Maybe I'll tell that story right there. Still, this chili is definitely looking like it's done. I better taste test it. I better be sure I don't burn my mouth off. Let's find ourselves a spoon. Let's get more of a close-up here. I think you may want to see the chili. There's still steam coming off of it, but not quite as much. Now let's take a look, folks. It looks like chili, that's for sure. It smells like chili. We have chili. Oh yeah. I know you've commented about how when I go but we definitely have chili here. It has that chili taste, and it has a little bit of heat because I mixed cayenne in it with it too. So we definitely have chili. This is the type of chili that's going to be able to, well, that's what chili does. It warms you up. You know, where you can feel that warm sensation in your chest. So I'm quite happy here. Can anybody tell me well, I know. The cornbread will be done when it's done. It's probably the best way to describe it. Take a look at that oven light. Wow. Take a look already. Here, let me show you this. That cornbread is rising. Well, of course it is. It has some baking powder in it. Still, we are not doing too badly at all. Anyway, well, thank you. Thank you for the happy birthdays. Yes, happy birthday, Brian Witten. And Val's Black Rose, I like winter too, but I'm only 73. I may not like it when I get old. That's the spirit. I like your way of thinking. Thumbs up to Terry Sinchek for that one. So yeah, this cornbread is definitely doing good. I'm going to have to keep a close eye on it. When it looks nice and toasty on the top, I think that's when it's going to be done. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. Because then, of course, comes the other moment of truth. Will it stick? Since I follow the tried and true method for making cornbread, I'm pretty sure it should not stick. But of course, we won't know until the end, will we? So... see if I missed anything else in these comments. Turn the fire off it. Oh yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, duh. Thank you very much. I just turned off the oven. Good idea. Yeah, great. Here I am. I'm taking lessons from the internet on how to cook. Oh boy, you got some real winners there. That's for sure. However, your advice has been spot on tonight, folks. You told me to stir this chili, and I do believe I saved it from burning, so thank you for that. It was by talking with you folks was inspired to make cornbread, and that looks like it's doing okay so far. Do you still use baker's goop? Yes, I do. And in fact, I'm going to be using baker's goop for my fruitcake. Okay, let's get back to what I said on Facebook. For those who don't know, and this is important, if you have not seen this announcement yet, excuse me, Lodge Cast Iron has re-released the fluted cake pan. It premiered today. The so-called cast iron bunt pan. It came out today. So if you want a cast iron cake pan for Christmas, get thee over to Lodge's website. And it's selling at a cost of, I think, $79.99, $80, probably plus shipping. But I'm betting you can probably get some kind of a discount coupon if you look around on Lodge's website, which should help handle the shipping. But there's the announcement. Lodge re-released the cast iron cake pan, which is not a bunt pan. There's a story behind that. Anyway, but I mentioned that because I celebrated that by posting a couple of links to some of my cast iron cake pan videos on my website, including one that has a review of the Lodge fluted cake pan. I give it a way thumbs up. It is a wonderful piece of cast iron. And another one for making fruit cake in cast iron. And here's the other bit, which comes back to what you just said. This coming Sunday is what they call Stir Up Sunday. Time to prepare the Christmas pudding or the fruit cake. You know, the kind that you start soaking in brandy and rum and you keep adding to it for the next month until Christmas comes. It's officially, well, unofficially, it's never official, but it starts this Sunday on Stir Up Sunday. And that's where I mentioned before, I'm definitely have to prepare my fruit cake. On the other hand, I have a recipe for a non-alcoholic fruit cake. One that is I find it to be quite delicious. And I call it a magical fruit cake because it's a fruit cake for people who don't like fruit cake. You know how so many people say, I don't like fruit cake? Well, maybe not in this crowd, but how often do you hear that? You know, besides all the fruit cake jokes going forever, there are a lot of people who simply refuse to have fruitcake because it's fruitcake. And a few years ago, for that reason, I came up with a fruitcake recipe that is essentially a spice cake with fruit mixed in. And I think it's wonderful, if you don't mind me saying so. And I did a video on it that is several years old, and I need to redo that video, which comes back to, again, your question, do you use baker's goop? Because, yes, when I make that fruit cake in a cast iron pan, yes, I do. I use baker's goop. Because before, at least once, I made it with the old grease and flour the cake pan, and then the resulting fruit cake had white flour stains all over it. It tasted fine, but you know, the stains, the white flour stains, it doesn't look very appealing. So yeah, I sometime in the next couple of weeks or month or something like that, I definitely intend to update that fruitcake recipe, or video at least. The recipe I like, but the video I definitely need to redo. On the other hand, I'm thinking this Sunday, I think I'm going to dedicate myself to actually making a traditional fruitcake, the kind that does have a ton of alcohol in it. Start it out on Sunday and keep feeding it brandy or rum until Christmas. So that's going to be interesting in itself. I've had great fruitcake, and I've had some that belong as doorstops. Yes, indeed. A friend of mine makes a non-alcoholic fruitcake that was like a dense pound cake. That sounds pretty good, if you ask me. What is baker's goop? Baker's goop is a type of recipe, a very simple recipe that you smear onto a cake pan before you add the batter, and it's meant to keep it from sticking. You know how they say, grease and flour the pan. That's where you coat the pan with grease, and then you dust flour all over it. This all does like a nonstick coating so that you pour your batter in and you bake the cake. And usually, not always, but usually it helps keep it from sticking and the cake pops out. But as I mentioned, that grease and flour method can give you flour stains, white flour residue on the finished cake. So baker's goop is simply no more than a combination, equal parts of, flour, oil, and Crisco. Yeah, that's it, or shortening. You mix them all together, and what you got is a very yucky looking paste, but it's great for greasing the cake pan and getting a nonstick cake without flour stains. Also, some folks add chocolate powder to the baker's goop, especially when making a chocolate cake. So there you go. That is baker's goop out there in God's country. Okay, let's take a look at the cornbread. Don't want to miss that. So I do believe the cornbread is starting to brown. If I'm seeing right, I'm betting the bottom of it is probably going to be brown. I think I should risk it and keep it in the oven for maybe a couple more minutes, but I think we're almost done. And holy cow, we're at 1 hour and 36 minutes here. I make my baker's goop. So, yeah, we're definitely just about done one way or another, because since I turned off the heat, take a look now. We have chili, folks. And look at the way that steam is just swirling in a circular pattern. Boy, I like that. I'm wondering if that's an effect of using a large Dutch oven. Yeah, there we go. We are definitely on a roll here, folks. We got chili. We've got a lot of chili here. I'm going to have to dump some of this chili on my friends up in mid-state New York. I'm sure they'll be all upset about that. But there we go. So we definitely have some chili for a nice chilly night. Oh, and it also has the bonus effect as well of helping keep this place warm. The heat has been working great in my new home. I have the thermostat set so that it turns on automatically at about 4 a.m. with a target temperature of 68 degrees. When I wake up for work at 5 a.m., the temperature is almost always, it shows, as 69 degrees. And then I let it reduce very slightly during the day so that by mid-afternoon, the temperature is about 66 degrees. And but this definitely helps to keep it warm. It feels nice and warm right now. It's a chilly tornado. Yes, it is. Okay, I've been talking that long. One last look at the cornbread. And now I guess it's time for the cornbread to come out. So let me clear off a space for this. Oops, damn it. The leg came off this tripod. There we go. Anyway, like I said, let's clear off a space for this, but I know you folks want a good view. Here's the dish. Goes into the sink. Measuring cup goes into the sink. Yeah, once this is done, I'm definitely going to have to wash dishes and clean up my mess. I'm pleased that I have gotten into the habit of immediately cleaning up my mess pretty much as soon as I'm done having supper. All right, here we go. Let me get this pot holder. And away we go. Yeah, that's a made in China trivet, or maybe India. I forget which, but nonetheless, it's one of those things that I got, because I like the design. Turn off the oven. Turn off the oven light. And here it comes. Yeah. Wow, interesting color to this. So there we go. Here is our cornbread. Definitely some interesting color. still golden on the top, but you can see there's a slightly darker crust. So I've no doubt that when it comes out, the bottom is probably going to be, well, hopefully brown. But that's one reason why I like using corn oil here on my cornbread rather than the traditional bacon grease or lard. Because when I was using lard to make my cornbread, almost always it would blacken the bottom of the cornbread. And no, I didn't like that. On the other hand, I started using corn oil and I've had much better results, I think. All right, satisfy my ego here. Let's move this more into the center so that I'll have a nice photo up here. There we are. Yeah, there we go. Now there's a view. So that there we go. There's our picture. Oh, I better take a picture of the chili too while I'm at it. The other nice thing about cornbread is you really don't have to wait much before taking it out of the pan. I mean, with a cake, you have to wait like about 20 minutes or so, but with cornbread, it's almost immediate. Let me dig out a plate as quickly as I can. Here it is. Because now comes, of course, as I've said already, the moment of truth. Let me dig out a knife. And this is still a very, very hot pan. So where did that, there it is, that pot holder go? Or pan holder, as the case may be. Run our knife around the edges. Oh, wow, this is already just about practically popping out. I like that. There's 2, 3, 4. And once again, folks, this is a BSR, a vintage BSR cornbread skillet, the one that changed history. Literally, it did. You know, I mean, it was such a great bestseller that besides making a profit for Birmingham Stove and Range for at least a couple of years, it, of course, started the, all of these other companies, including Lodge, making their own cornbread skillets. Whoops, get the pieces all over the place. Whereas, you know, Lodge makes what they call the wedge pan, which they do to this very day. They redesigned, in fact, with Lodge handles only a couple of years ago when they redesigned their baking sets. And I think we're ready. So let's move this over. And no, I don't. No, that's not the part. There we go. Don't want to burn myself. All but one. Let me get the knife on this one. Plop. Ha-ha! No sticking. So there we go. Traditional, and like I said, look at the bottom of this. It's nice and golden here. As I mentioned, since I started using corn oil on my cornbread, it does not blacken the bottom here. So there we are. Savory Southern style golden cornbread to go with our chili. Oh, I'm running late, so I better do one last thing, and that is to plate it up. And then I think we'll be ready to call it a night. So thank you very much. And like I said, I say this every time. I've enjoyed myself tonight. This has really been a lot of fun here. As you can see, you know, chatting with you folks. I mean, and taking your advice. Thanks to your advice, we've got ourselves a nice pot full of chili, as well as some good old cornbread. So there we are. Here is our chili. And here is our cornbread. There we are. Let's do a close-up of that. Chili and cornbread. I suppose that's about as southern as you can get. Not bad for a Yankee. Okay, so there we go. Great fun tonight. Yeah, Rocket Caver. Well, thank you very much. 25% off with above coupon. So there is a coupon. I'm glad to hear that. So cornbread from scratch that is golden, popped out of the cast iron. Well, I can only say I did my best, and I hope you like it. Cornbread looks good. Well, thank you very much. Oh, there it is. That's the one. Show. Look up at the comments, folks. There was one that was hidden, and I've just shown it. That is, where is that? Somebody just posted, there it is. Look at this comment up above from Dean Reddy. Interested in large cake pen, add something to get to $100, make a $100 order, use the coupon Give Memories, and choose free shipping. So there you go. That means, the cake pan itself is $80, so order something else and make it $100, and then you'll get free shipping. So, well, I guess that means essentially you get shipping and you'll get something for free. So that's not so bad. Are you sure you don't have Southern blood in you? As I said, I'm a born and bred New Englander. The best I could say is that I learned to cook, and I've gotten a lot of advice from Southern cooking. And you can see the results. But thank you very much for the compliment, Papa Dan. Okay, there's always got to be one. I have a Wagner wedge skillet. Well, congratulations, Alma. Yeah, those are not very common. They're not exactly rare. Wagner made some cornbread pans. I'm not sure if they really made as many. The vast majority of them came from BSR and especially from Lodge. So, okay. Homemade raspberry preserves would go great with that cornbread. Well, I heard that too. I mean, there's no end of things you can put on my cornbread. I'm going to try to use my enamel Dutch oven and induction burner on low as it goes as a crock pot. Well, I hope the induction burner works with an enamel cast iron pan. We'll have to see. You may actually have to consider using a bare cast iron Dutch oven for that. But there we go, folks. Oh, this has actually been a lot of fun here, especially since, oh man, these results turned out great. And as I said, I can only thank everybody for your advice on that. You know, like, as I said, all right, like stirring the chili and kind of like inspiring me to make cornbread. So, well, I'm just gonna have to eat this and go to bed and digest. But what can I say? As I mentioned already, I do this every Wednesday because it's so much fun. And the reason why, and I say this every week, and I mean it every week, the reason why this is so much fun is you folks. I mean, the cooking is fun. Having the live experience is fun. But really, having you folks on to comment and be snarky and sarcastic, and especially to give advice, and really it makes it feel like I'm here with you folks, or you folks are here with me, and that makes it all that much more fun. And I can only thank you so much for that, because as I said, this makes these live videos so much fun and enjoyable, and I can only hope you folks enjoy it as well. I can only thank you for everything, and thank you very much for your time, and thank you for staying on. And then, like it or not, we're getting into that time of the year. A week from now is going to be the day before Thanksgiving. So I hope you folks get your preparations ready, whatever you do. Whether you make a huge Thanksgiving feast, whether you go out to eat, whether you're going to visit relatives for Thanksgiving, I just hope you enjoy yourselves. That's really the most important thing, you know, where, as you say, we give thanks and we have fun and watch football. Okay, so I can only thank everybody for showing up here. And, well, next week we will do it all over again. So, yeah, stay safe and warm, everybody, like Rick Stumbaugh says. Yes, especially since you're being hit by that bad weather. Please be careful, because we want to see you here next week. And with that, I think I will say adieu and have a good evening, folks. See you next Wednesday.